Welcome back to Truth or Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran of OEF and OIF. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I have seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. These conversations can get raw, they can get heavy, and sometimes they may not be suitable for children, so consider this your disclaimer. But if you care about truth, justice, and accountability, then you're in the right. Test. All right. Can y'all hear me now? No one can still hear me? No sound. Wonderful. Doesn't make any sense. Test 1, 2. Still nothing. Okay, Facebook can hear me. So TikTok is saying they can't. What about now, TikTok? Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. My computer went completely nuts right when I was trying to get on. I don't know what happened. Like, I literally thought somebody had hacked into it, which is still possible. I don't know. It was very strange. Okay, so everybody can hear me. Okay, perfect. Again, I apologize. All right. That was strange. Y'all think Nick Smith figured out how to hack into a computer? Or Brittany Stapleton? One of them. One of them for sure. She'll probably sue me for that. All right. I hope everyone's having a good Friday night and had a good week. It's been it's been a long week for me, as I know a lot of other people. We've had the verdict in the Anaya Blanchard case, where Ibrahim Yazid was convicted, guilty for murder and felony murder, which was not the best outcome that we wanted, because we wanted him convicted of capital. But it is better, obviously, than nothing. Another thing that makes me sleep better at night is knowing that, and if you're not aware of this, he still has 2 other pending kidnappings, 2 other pending attempted murders, and then a pending capital case, all completely different cases. So he's not getting out of prison. By the time he's finished with all of those, he's probably going to, I'm sure, and I'm very confident, spend the rest of his life in prison. And hopefully the next capital that he's tried on, he will get convicted of that capital and go ahead and get the penalty that he needs and deserves. He is what I've started calling the Montgomery Monster, because that's exactly what he is. And that really doesn't even give it justice. Again, you just heard all the charges that he still has pending. And those things don't even count the previous things that he's already been through the court system with and been convicted of. As we've said numerous times, the fact that he was even out of jail or prison when he took Anaya's life is unacceptable in itself. Now, the other good thing about this is this case was obviously watched by all of the top authorities in this state of Alabama. The governor, and I know Steve Marshall, our state attorney general, was watching it closely. In fact, he was literally in the trial and sit right in front of me, maybe Friday, maybe Monday. I can't remember what day. Don't quote me on that. But he was there himself, which I thought was great, and the least he could do. So, but again, none of this is going to bring full peace to Anaya's family. And again, as I've said numerous times before, her family are some of the strongest people I've ever seen, to be able to sit through all of that. Well, to already have gone through everything they have, and then to be able to sit through that trial and as good as they did. And I don't think I could have. They're a lot stronger and tougher than me. That is for sure. Her mother is an amazing person. No way around that. And she has already done amazing things and was the lead in getting an Oz law passed, which has already saved countless lives. And I promise you, especially after this, she's going to be even more fiery, and she's going to make a lot of things happen for the good. There's no doubt about that. He has not been sentenced yet. His sentencing hearing is December the 7th. And if I'm able, I will be there. So we'll know that then, obviously. I don't know if he's Islamist, or Islamic. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I don't know. I do think he's Muslim, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I do think he is, which in my mind is definitely different than Islamic. I don't have an issue with Muslims at all. Most Muslims are great people. The extreme Islamists are not. I said December, didn't I? I don't know why I said it. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for correcting me. May the 7th. I don't know why I said December. As soon as I saw you say that, it just hit me that I said December. I don't know. I guess I had Pearl Harbor on my mind all of a sudden. Yes, okay. But yeah, let me correct that. Thanks to Debbie. May the 7th. His sentencing is May the 7th. So just a little over a month away. About a month and what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I was close. I had one part of it right. That's for sure. And y'all can give me a second to get kind of back my mind to where it was before I got started, because I got all flustered when I didn't know what was going on, and my computer started going crazy, and kind of lost my train of thought of where we was going to get started here. So, going off the fly. So, okay, one thing I want to go ahead and get out of the way and say, because it needs to be said. I made a big mistake, and I'm ashamed that I did, because the only reason I made that mistake is because I did every single thing that I'm constantly preaching to everyone not to do. And then I sit there and I did it all myself. And I apologize for that. And I will try my best to learn as much as possible from that and make sure it does not happen again. I think I've learned my lesson after this. Now, that mistake that I made was on, don't quote me on the night, I want to say maybe Wednesday night. I made a post in reference to the Afro Man civil case. And if you're not familiar with that, Afro Man, who is a rapper, was pretty big back in the late 90s and early 2000s. I was a big fan of his. Liked his songs back then. He's a funny guy. He was sued by some Adams County deputies, and I believe that's out of Ohio, for defamation. And I'll just get on into where I screwed up and the mistake I made. I didn't know anything about this trial. Nothing at all. I didn't even know he had been sued. I didn't know any of this because I've been so busy and caught up with the other stuff. I had no idea this was even going on. Later Wednesday night, I got a text, and this is not an excuse. This is 100% my fault. I'm just explaining how I got to where I did. I got a text from a good friend, and they said, "Are you going to speak up for the officers in the Afro Man case because he did them wrong?" And in the text it said he has publicly been going around accusing one of them, stating one of them is a PDF file when he knows that they're not. And I was like, he's saying that about a police officer? And he sent me a link. He said, here's his testimony. Watch this and you'll see what I'm saying. So I clicked on the link, and it was to a YouTube video that was just of Afro Man's testimony during the civil trial a few days ago. And I watched it. And just from watching that and me not knowing anything else, it pissed me off. I'm not going to lie. It pissed me off a lot because during his questioning, he states, "Yeah, I know he's not a PDF file, but I don't care." He shouldn't have broken into my house because they executed a search warrant on Afro Man's property on his house a few years ago. He said they shouldn't have never been at my house and blah, blah, blah. And so I don't care. And so that pissed me off. And honestly, in my mind, I was like, he's a POS for this. And right after that, I immediately got on social media and I made a post about it, about how pissed I was and that he was a clown. Then the next morning, because this was pretty late, I went to bed as soon as, right after I made the post. Then Thursday morning, I believe it was, when I got up, everybody was posting about it. And I was like, why so many people? Because there were people taking up for him that I have tons of respect for and that I know is not anti-police. And so I was like, why are they taking up for him? Because I assumed, and you know what I say about assumptions, but I did. I assumed that who texted me was familiar with the entire case. Well, obviously, that assumption was wrong. I think they just had seen what they sent me. So when I started actually looking into everything, I realized I was completely wrong. And that my post was way out of line and was not correct in any way whatsoever. That I was the idiot, not the people I was calling an idiot. And so I immediately took the post down, but that doesn't obviously just erase it all because I had it up. But I was completely wrong. And now, because I got really pissed off when I figured out how wrong I was, and so I've looked into this case pretty deep. Looked at all the facts, watched almost all the trial. I've gone back and watched all the testimony. And I 100% understand why he was so aggravated and angry as I would have been too. And he deserved to be angry and upset 100%. He was done wrong, in my opinion. I just assumed, again, I made a lot of assumptions here, and that's why I tell people not to make assumptions, because that's where making all these assumptions got me completely wrong. When I heard search warrant, I assumed it was for narcotics. And so just because they didn't find anything that doesn't mean much to me, because just because when you execute a search warrant on someone, just because you don't find it doesn't mean it wasn't there and had been moved before you got there. And it doesn't mean that it still may have been there, you just couldn't find it, because sometimes you just can't find it. It's hidden that well. And so just because something wasn't found does not mean this person was completely innocent. It means, again, they either got it out of there before the police got there, or they had it hidden so well they couldn't find it. Well, I was only partly correct in the search warrant because it was for narcotics, but it was also for kidnapping. So, long story short, what these idiots did, these Adams County deputies, they had an informant. I'm guessing they probably arrested or took into custody an addict informant. She was a drug addict. And she started spewing off nonsense. And if you've worked in that business, you get this nonsense all the time. You will bust someone, and they will make up the craziest stuff, hoping you just let them go for them giving you this amazing information. And she told them that he had kidnapped some people or a person and had them hostage in his basement. That was kind of like a dungeon. That in itself should have made them step back and go, hold on. And made them investigate a lot further than them just running and grabbing a search warrant and getting it signed and executing it. They didn't do that. You do not do that. Again, if every narc went off of just simply what informants told them all the time, they would be wrong 98% of the time. Because that's about how much of information is made up by these, or highly exaggerated by informants, especially when you bust them. About 2% is right. And you have to know when you're in that job, you have to know when to identify and recognize this doesn't sound right. We got to look a lot more into this and get this verified by some other form before we just jump on it. Well, they didn't do any of that. And then after watching all the video of them in his house and the way they did everything, it doesn't surprise me because they all look like soup sandwiches. They didn't know what they're doing. Tactically, they didn't know what they're doing. Very dangerous. And then there literally is one of them that is literally eyeing the pound cake in the kitchen. He didn't make that up. It's like you can see the guy. And this guy looks like he's eaten way too many pound cakes in his life. He just, God, he's, again, tactically, the way he was holding his weapon, the way they were all, these guys are a joke. They're obviously very untrained, and that falls on them, but it also falls on their leadership and their sheriff. And I don't know anything about their sheriff yet, but I'm going to dig into him some, because if that's the best he's got, he needs some work. So, as I said, I was 100% wrong. And I fully recognize that. I made a lot of mistakes. And again, it ended up I was the idiot. And that sucks. I had to take my foot completely out of my mouth, and that's never fun. Anyway, I still do not agree with him even implying that the officer is a child predator when he knows he's not. However, in the videos, the music videos that he did, he doesn't really do that. Because I also began to realize that wasn't why they sued him. That was just part of their excuse to sue him. Why they really sued him is because he embarrassed them and hurt their feelings. You don't sue people because you get your feelings hurt. And if you can't handle getting your feelings hurt in that business, you are definitely in the wrong business because you're going to get your feelings hurt about every day. For sure. But them all getting their feelings hurt, I think, is very well deserved. Again, I do not agree with the child predator part, but other than that, it's very well deserved. And he's a funny guy. I don't think anybody could turn this into what he did. And you talk about the ultimate troll, and again, it is deserved. It was deserved. But if you've not watched the videos, if you've not watched the music video of Lemon Pound Cake, you're missing out. My second favorite one is what's the other one? Hold on. No, I can't find the other one. Hold on, I'll find it. He's made a bunch of them off of this incident, and they're all funny. Oh, batter ram him of the police whistle. Yeah. Oh, batter ram him of the police whistleblower. So you got to watch the video with it. Anyway, they're hilarious and they're well deserved. I'm glad he was able to turn that into a lot of money because this has brought him back. And I think that's funny in itself. But again, in law enforcement, you don't sue someone because they hurt your feelings. You don't sue them because they made fun of you. You move on. And again, they should have done their work the correct way and they wouldn't have to be worried about it. It's exactly like he said. He was completely right. I've heard that so many times. I immediately thought he was just a police hater. He hated the police, and he was pissed because they ran a search warrant on his house. And so he was trying to ruin their lives. That's what I thought. And again, none of that was correct in any way whatsoever. But go check out his videos. Some of them are a little vulgar, so probably not something you want your children listening to. But anyway, it's funny. And he deserves the support. They don't execute many search warrants, and they don't understand how serious it is. And that is sad. Because executing a search warrant on someone's property, on their private property, is a very, very serious thing and should be always taken very serious. It's not something you just up and do on a whim. You're breaking into their property. You're busting their property down. You're breaking it. You're busting through their front door with your firearms. And if they're in there, those firearms are going to be in their face. If their kids are in there, firearms are going to be in their face. I've been on that side of it more times than I could ever count, and that's just part of it. But that's why it should be taken so serious, and that's why you just don't up on a whim and say, let's go check it out. Let's see if we're right. No, that's not what you do. Again, it's crazy to me that they took this addict's word on what she was telling them, because again, it's, you could just look at it and tell. Now, I'm not saying that you just immediately blow it off and say, "Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. That's crazy." You do investigate it. They didn't do any of that. So, okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I just saw someone asking about the. Let me put my little text back up. Yeah, I'm streaming on 3 different platforms. So if I'm responding to a comment that you don't see, it's probably from one of the other ones. So anyway, let me catch up on the comments. I love a good pound cake. Oh yeah, and apparently one of the officers, I guess him, the lemon pound cake guy, people have been sending him tons of pound cakes. When God life gives you lemons, make lemon pound cake. I respect a man that can admit he's wrong. Well, I'll be honest, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have admitted that. I would have just carried on. Thankfully, I've matured and grown a lot in my life. Yeah, we talked about the Joseph Duggar being arrested, I think, Wednesday night. I still haven't had time to look into that, but I'm going to, because I definitely want us to discuss it. So hopefully I get a chance to look into it and get all the details by next week, and we can discuss it on one of the lives. They had some bad storms in Hawaii and they're flooded real bad. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. Well, we've got one of my subscribers on YouTube is in Hawaii. I don't think he's on tonight. I hope he's okay. I think it's Eric. Yeah, he usually comments, and he hasn't, so I'm guessing he's not on tonight. Maybe he comes on, but yeah, I hope he's okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I don't believe we give the proper probable cause before a judge signs off on a warrant. Are you, when you say we, who are you just talking about in general? Because in general, I disagree with that. Like anywhere where, well, I ain't gonna say everywhere I worked, there was some very small counties where I would get search warrants that I think the judge would probably sign them no matter what. But our judges were very, the main judges that I went to, they were, I mean, you had to have very legit probable cause. They would ask you a bunch of questions, and if you didn't, they wouldn't sign it. And I mean, they had to go through our supervisor as well, and our supervisors were very good, and they weren't going to let you even They weren't going to let you take a search warrant to a judge to get signed until they reviewed it and it was solid. Because again, we took that very serious, obviously, because we always knew that there was always a really high chance of us having to shoot someone or take their life, or one of us getting injured very bad, or our life taking during those, because they're very dangerous. And that's part of it. But that's why another reason why you don't just go on a whim. What's up, Katie? Oh, you're not speaking on everyone as a whole. Do you hold on? Sarah, you can message me, because I'm curious about who you're talking about and exactly what I like discussing those things. Because for quite a few years, I was teaching search warrant writing and execution. I haven't taught it in about 5 years at least, but I was teaching it for a long time. Prosecutors allege drug transactions were found on Alabama basketball star Aiden Holloway's phone. I'll say this. I am almost 100% positive he was selling. Which is completely ignorant. The kid has everything going for him, and I'm sure was making tons of money in NIL. I have no idea what in his mind. Just being an idiot completely. I don't understand it. I don't. But there's a big difference in him using a little bit of weed here and there and him selling it. And I mean, anyone sitting on 2 pounds, they're selling it. You don't get that for personal use. And here's, I mean, you all know I'm a proponent. I am a big proponent, if I could speak, proponent of that substance being fully legalized. I don't think it should be illegal. However, in the states where it is still illegal, it is very dangerous to be dealing it, especially in a college town. Again, obviously, I worked in a college town in narcotics for a long time. Almost all home invasions where someone would get shot or their life taken is over weed. Almost all of them where I worked. That's what makes it so dangerous. It's not the substance itself. The substance itself is not dangerous. But selling it is, especially when a college kid is selling it, because this is what happens. The real convicts, the real dealers, they hear a college kid is selling weed. And the one thing about dealers that deal that substance, they're usually sitting on the most cash, the most money. They make the most money because they have 10,000 times more customers than the hard stuff. And again, especially in a college town where you have tens of thousands of college students that like to use it. And so A college student selling weed could be sitting on between 30, 50 grand in cash. Well, the real dealers know that, and they're not scared of a little college kid, and so they will go up to their apartment, house, wherever, knock on the door, and when they come to the door, they will pull a weapon out on them and to rob them. And so they will do a home invasion and go in and just take their stuff. They will take the drugs and the money. Well, if whoever's selling the stuff is also armed and they pull a weapon, somebody's going to get shot and more than likely their life taken. And then a lot of this happens in apartment complexes, again, in a college town. And so you've got those bullets flying around. And not only are these two people involved, but you've got completely innocent people in other apartments that can end up getting shot or even worse. So that is why it's so dangerous in states where it's still illegal. And that's why you can't have it. You just can't. Again, there's no excuse for him. None. He's an amazing basketball player, but none of that matters when you're that dumb. So, hopefully he figures out a way out of this and it doesn't ruin everything he had going. And if he does figure a way out of it to where it doesn't, I hope he's learned a big lesson. We will see. What comment did I miss? Hold on. I try to catch as many comments as I can, but it is impossible for me to catch them all because I'm on 3 different platforms, and so there's a lot of comments. I'm not seeing if anybody on my team sees a comment from David Gen X. Can you pin that? Because I can't find it. If it's worth pinning. I don't know what it is, but y'all can check it out if you find it. On TikTok. No, I agree, Ashley. Ashley said legalize it everywhere. Ridiculous to have it illegal. I completely agree. Now, I'm all for banning and making alcohol illegal. I'm all for that. That's one reason I'm such a big proponent of legalizing the green stuff. Because there are a lot of people in states where it's illegal, they drink. But if they had easy access to that and it was legal, just as alcohol is, they would not drink. They would just use that. And that is 10,000 times more safer. It's not bad on their body as long as they use it in moderation. If they use it every day, that's not good. It's still a lot better than if they drink every day. But alcohol is responsible for more deaths than any drug other than fent. By far. And before that came along, before that got so big, before the opioid pandemic came along, alcohol was the leading by far. It's just people don't talk about it much because they consider it a natural death because they die of liver failure. But that's what caused it. Not only that but alcohol is responsible for, I would say, at least 90% of domestic violence. At least. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I have never responded to a domestic violence situation where one or both were using the green stuff ever. It's always one or both are using alcohol. I was state, David. I worked on a state task force So I worked all over the state of Alabama for some years. And now I had some cases, big cases, that would take me to other states, and I would follow those cases. I would just work alongside whatever federal agency we were that we invited along on that, or that we invited in to help us with it. A lot of times that was ATF. Sometimes it's DEA. Didn't care much for working with DEA. Did not like working with FBI. Some would work with FBI, but I liked working with ATF most of all. And as long as there's a firearm nexus to the case, ATF can take it, even though it's drugs. And so some of them I did some work out of state as well, but only if my cases took me there. I did a decent amount of work in Atlanta, Georgia, some in Jacksonville, Florida, Houston, Texas a few times. But yeah, so I'm all for banning alcohol and legalizing weed. I'm telling you, our country would be a lot better off. There's no doubt about that. No, spice is a horrible drug, or synthetic cannabinoid, whatever you want to call it. Biggest case I ever had was on spice. And a couple things to note about spice is it was actually, that stuff was sent here literally by terrorist organizations to make money to fund their organizations. And the biggest case I ever made ended up the main guy that we got was a Syrian, and he was sending around $500,000 in cash a month back to Hezbollah. And he owned some gas stations, but on the side, illegally out of his back door, he was selling a lot of that, a lot. But no, that was a horrible drug. I treat if we're talking about pure, plain kratom, I think that can be good for people that are opioid addicts, and if they use that in moderation, because I know it has gotten a lot of people off of using the synthetic opioids, which is a lot better, like I said, if it's pure kratom. But there are some things that they dress them up as kratom, and they're really not. I think, what is it, 7-OH? Gosh, it's been a long time. I think that's the name of it, 7-OH maybe. That is dangerous and a very addictive thing. That's not good at all, and you can find that in a lot of kratoms. But if you're talking about just pure leaf, very natural kratom, again, if used in moderation to help someone get off of synthetic opioids, I don't think it's a bad thing. But none of those things, if you've never used anything, you don't use those. They all can be addicting, and that's never good. And one of my big mistakes when I was working in that business is when kratom first started coming around, which in Alabama, I would say 2012, 13, somewhere around in there is when it kind of hit and people started using it, and it was fully legal. You could buy it at any gas station. The big thing was the little, look like energy shots that were kratom. And I didn't know much. I didn't know a lot about it. None of us really did. But we started dealing with people that were heroin addicts, and they would be going through literally 40 or 50 of those little vials a day. And you would pull them over or get in their house, and they would have empty bottles of that everywhere. And we're like, this is a problem. And I actually was one of the main ones that pushed for our law banning kratom in Alabama. A guy that was my mentor that I worked very closely with and did a lot of work with, he was really big on it as far as against it. And we started talking to our prosecutors and the other units throughout the state, and then to the legislators, and helped kind of push to get it banned. Then a couple years later, when I started actually researching exactly the problems and looking deeper into all that, I realized that I was wrong on that. Again, the 7-0H, I hope I'm saying that right, definitely needs to be illegal everywhere. It's horrible. But again, I as far as pure kratom, I don't think it's, again, if used in moderation, it's not bad at all. Again, I know of quite a few people that has gotten off of synthetic opioids. And so anyway, I was saying all that to say banning kratom was a big mistake, because that just caused these companies to start putting other synthetic, just made up synthetic stuff in these same vials pretty much so they could be legal and sell them. And all of those were they were way worse than a natural pure leaf kratom. But again, don't misunderstand me. If you don't just go and get kratom, I mean, you can in Alabama, it's illegal. It's illegal in a lot of states, but it's still fully legal in some. Don't go and get it and start using it. It's not, you should not do that. Again, I think it only is beneficial for people that are trying to get off of synthetic opioids, whether that be pharmaceutical pain pills or fent or whatever. Yeah, spice, bath salts, they've got a ton of different names. The name I hate the most and that I've always been against is synthetic marijuana, because it is not any way related in any way whatsoever to marijuana, to the green stuff. No way whatsoever. That's a big misconception. Just because it looked like it in certain forms, that's why I got that name, but that's a big misconception. That's not what it is. It has nothing to do with that substance, and it is 1,000 times worse than that. But I've got stories for days on spice. I'll make some videos. I'll put a lot of those videos, personal stories and cases and stuff that I work, because some of them are very crazy and interesting, on my Patreon when I get that up in a few days, hopefully. I have a question. Can I get your thoughts on what's going on in Hamilton right now? Britt, I apologize, but I haven't had time. Me and my team have been talking about that, and they've all been researching it and putting stuff together on it. I have not had time to look into it yet to know any details, but we will. That's going to be a big thing that we are going to be covering, and I will be putting out probably quite a few full podcast on that. But hopefully in the next few days I get a chance to look at that too, and we can talk about that next week. David, are you talking about Fent blowing up so fast? Or are you talking about something else? Where our bodies were not meant for processed sugar either. So you can't go off of that to say our bodies are not meant for that. Our bodies are not meant for Coca-Colas, which I'm hugely against soft drinks. If you haven't heard me say before, I've not had a carbonated drink. I've not had a carbonated drink in over 20 years. And that's no exaggeration. You would not find anybody that's seen me have a carbonated drink in well over 20 years, probably, possibly even longer. Well, Fent, the oxys, when oxys hit pharmaceutically, and if you're not familiar with that whole story, it's bad and crazy. But one pharmaceutical company developed oxys, and they started pushing them out to every doctor in the country and paying them big money to push it out. And they lied about it. They lied about saying it wasn't addictive. Everything they said about it was a complete lie. And it took over. And a lot of people became addicts overnight. People that would have never used street rugs ever, that had never thought about it, end up being addicted of no fault of their own because they were taking something a doctor had given them in oxys. And when it turned into an epidemic pretty fast. And then all of a sudden, when it was discovered that they had been lying and that this was a horrible, horrible drug, then all these doctors had to stop prescribing it because they were going to get in trouble. And in fact, when I was working, we busted quite a few doctors of the pill mills. But when they stopped prescribing to everybody, well, then you have all these addicts. And that is one of the, I've had so many conversations with people trying to come off opioids. I could not even count. And it's interested me, and I've always asked them, hey, what is it like trying to come off of it? And the horror stories I've heard, and one of those descriptions the main description I will never, ever forget. And this was years ago. And a guy told me, he said, well, imagine you're standing in your kitchen in front of your blender. And then you take a pointy object and you just jab it in your stomach and you open it up and you open yourself up and then you grab all of your intestines and you put them in that blender while you're standing there and you turn it on. He said, that's what it feels like. And I was like, that is one hell of a description. And that is exactly how he explained it. And since then, I've said that to numerous addicts that have had experience in coming off and trying to come off. And everyone has said, oh, wow, that's the best description I've ever heard. That's very accurate. So we ended up with hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people addicted to this at no fault of their own. And then their doctors just automatically all of a sudden stopped prescribing it to them. And so they had nowhere else to go but to the streets. And that's when I forgot I can't say that word. TikTok kept me off, but you know what I'm talking about. the brown horrible rug hit, it started, I mean, it hit big. So at the same time that doctors cut off all these opioids to their patients was the same exact time where some of the states in the United States began to legalize the green stuff. And I'm about to explain how this all comes together. So this was all within the same couple of years. The green stuff was the cartel's main moneymaker by far. Well, when Colorado and California and a couple other states all legalized it all of a sudden, that cut a lot of money out of the cartels. A lot. They weren't, their green stuff was worthless to people that had used the good stuff out of these legalized states. And, I mean, it's what they call dirt weed. It was way cheaper. I mean, the prices were so crazily different on the street of if it was Colorado or California green stuff versus the Mexican, not even the same. And so anyway, cartel started losing a bunch of money. And so what did they do? They just started pushing more H and more meth into the United States to make up for all the money they were losing from the green stuff. And so this was the perfect storm. All this hit at the same time. So it ended up being the perfect storm. And so you've got all hundreds of thousands of Americans looking for an alternative because they're about to lose their mind from trying to come off of oxys. And so they go to the streets, and right at that same time is when the cartel said, here's all you want. And so we ended up with a lot of those people, most of those people addicted to H. And a lot of people started losing their lives. I mean, I will never forget, like 2000, I think it was, I'll say 2013 or 14, the amount of people, ODs that we were having was crazy. And I had to respond to a lot of them, a lot, more than I could ever count. And I mean, it's the saddest thing ever. And one thing about that, when you OD on that, it's immediate. And I say that because every single one of those scenes that I had to go on, the needle was still either sticking in them or was right at their feet where they dropped it. And they were out right there. Immediate. So we had this new epidemic. Well, then, a few years later, is when China started giving the cartels fent. Nobody knew what it was. I mean, doctors did because they used it in the hospitals, but it was 1,000 times stronger than H. And so the cartels, without telling any of the American dealers, they were adding fent to their H. And so the dealers in the United States had no idea, and they would, and the addicts didn't either. And so when they would buy 3 points, and that's how they sell, they would buy it in points of a gram. And so that's what they call it, points. And so if they bought normally 3 points and used 3 points or 2 points, whatever, and they would be fine. Well, if it had fent mixed in with it, they were not fine. And so then, and I'd say this is about 2014, 15, somewhere around in there, that's when the ODs went off the charts. And I mean, it was literally night and day, and it all happened immediately. Because then all of a sudden, whoa, what is going on? And our bosses were on us because like, there's bad batches of H going around. Like, we got to figure this out. We got to get this stuff off the street. And because that's what we thought. We just thought it was bad batches. And then we figured out it was nationwide, and we're like, no, something's up. And then right after that is when we started coming into contact with fent. And again, it was brand new to all of us. We didn't know what it was. And we had to go to some training and figure it out. And once we learned what it was, like, wow, this is a big problem. And so anyway, this is a long way of putting that, but hopefully that answered your question, David. But that's how it just, everybody started using it. Because then the people who did live through it, once they realized, hey, this is a different drug, they wanted it because it was much more powerful. And now we're at a point, the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, we've been at a point to where H is almost unheard of, and it's just all pure fent. What do they do with the substances officers find? Well, you have to keep it in evidence until their case is through, like until their case goes all the way through the court process. And then once it's completely finished, then we destroy it. So where I worked, we would take them to a, I'm not going to name the actual type of business or anything, but this huge business has a huge incinerator, like the size of a house, and where whatever you put in it, it immediately just evaporates whatever you put in it immediately. That's how hot it is. And so that's where we would dispose of all of our stuff that was no longer needed. My husband was on morph for 3 weeks after an accident, and he was hooked on it. Yeah, no, it happens fast. And that's also another reason I get so, now it's common knowledge and pretty much everybody knows it. But when this stuff first started happening and we started having all these deaths, all these ODs, and I'd hear people say, why are we investigating that? They chose to use it. No, most of them didn't. That's the difference. Most of these addicts did not and had never used a hard drug in their life. They were completely normal people, and again, with no fault of their own, ended up addicted. And then their doctors cut them off, and they had nowhere else to go. And you heard me describe how I've heard it described of how horrible. And again, I've seen it so many times too. I've seen people go through these withdrawals, and my God, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And they will do anything. I mean, I have been sitting in a living room and watched a husband and wife, these are grown people, watched a husband and wife crawling around on their living room floor where they had carpet with their tongue out, literally licking all the carpet, hoping that at some point when they were using it, mixing it up, they had dropped some in the carpet and could get a little bit of it. I watched that. That's the kind of stuff that the withdrawals without it will make them do anything. Anything. Oh, it's very sad. I've seen one of the ODs I had to respond to one night. Guy was in the bathroom. Again, it was an immediate thing. The needle was still, he had fallen down on the floor, but he still in his arm. Very normal house in a very nice neighborhood. Had 2 younger children. And his wife was there. And by the time I got there, our special victims unit who works homicides was already there because they have to respond to any unnatural death. And so they were there and already, working their part, and I would come and work the drug part. And so I went into the bathroom, and where they had some oxys in a pill bottle, because that's what he was doing that night. He was crushing them up and shooting them. And well, I took all of those, and I've got them in my hand in a evidence bag, and I'm walking back through the living room. The mom was standing on the other side of the couch. Now, keep in mind, her husband is still laying in the bathroom dead. Their 2 children are sitting in the living room, crying, bawling, sad. And I walked through there with that, and she started screaming, "Where are you going with that?" And I said, "I have to take it for evidence." And she said, "No, you're not taking it." And she came over, jumped over the couch, and jumped on me. Started fighting me to try to take it out of my hands. And I had to throw her off, and there was some uniformed deputies there that, jumped on her, and they had to put her in handcuffs and stuff and get her off of me. That was her worry. The only thing because she was an addict too, so she cared way more about me taking those than her husband that was laying on the bathroom floor. Again, another night I'll never forget, because it's just set in like, wow, this drug is horrible. That's what it makes you do. Again, before they were addicts, these people were completely normal, good members of society. Never been in trouble a day in their life. Had really good jobs. Again, nice house, nice neighborhood. And this had ruined their lives and their children's lives, obviously. But their children saw all of that. The guy that told me about the blender is correct. Trying to stop is horrible. I know personally. Yeah, like I said, I've made that description, said that description in front of a lot that's done it themselves, and they all say that is very accurate. At my brother's funeral, those type of people were trying to take stuff from the funeral home. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. The JLR restraining order, have not, and I've only read a little bit about it. But again, that is something else that I've got on my agenda to look into and discuss. But I don't really want to discuss anything like that, me personally, right now, before I know a lot more about it, because I'll end up in a situation like I was the other night, and I've learned my lesson, like I said. So, but I'm going to look into that. Like I said, it's literally on my list. and then we'll discuss it next week. Any prescription pain med I've been given, I'm highly allergic to them. My go-to for pain is just plain on aspirin. That's a good thing. No, you have to be extremely careful. I've worked it and saw it. I am scared to death of those. I mean, I'm scared to death. So when I've had to have a surgery or something and they give me hydrocodone, I mean, I'll take one or two the first day or so or whatever. I don't like they just knock me out completely, which I don't like. So thankfully I don't like them anyway. But I'm telling you, I'm so paranoid about them. I'm very careful because again, I've seen it. I've arrested doctors, lawyers, police officers, pretty much every profession from them getting hooked on pain pills and then moving to the street stuff and just ruining their lives. And it's sad. I mean, it is. JLR holds the record for the most amount of people sued and tried to sue the record company for it. So he sued that many people? Is that for real, Ashley? Oh yeah, pharmacists too. A couple of dentists. What's he sued so many people about? I didn't know that. I don't know much about him, but I didn't know that. Then one time, this is not the same, but it just when I'm talking about arresting doctors, it always reminds me. It wasn't my case, is one of the guys in my unit, but we arrested a podiatrist, which is a foot doctor, because he was prescribing more Adderall than any other doctor, than any other psychiatrist. So that threw up some red flags. And anyway, he ended up losing his medical license and going to jail and all that good stuff. Yeah, a podiatrist was prescribing tons of Adderall. Yeah, I will actually. Yeah, because I'm interested in that. I didn't realize he had so many lawsuits. That's crazy. Oh, he's not a doctor anymore. Like I said, he lost his medical license and everything, and That was, guys, at least 10 years ago. So he's been out of the business for a while. JLR is known for filing over 2,600 lawsuits. 2,600? I wouldn't get within 200 yards of that guy then. Jesus. Hopefully word has gotten around to every judge and no one allows him to file any more lawsuits, because that's, my goodness. If that's true, and I'm going to check into it, I'm not saying it's not. I want to check into it myself. If that's true, I have zero respect for that guy and will never watch him again, because there's something wrong with him. Nah, he wasn't in Huntsville. $2,600. That's crazy. We're gonna have to do a full podcast on that team, because I didn't know that, and I'm sure a lot of other people don't either. But I think that needs to be known. Yeah, I'll verify for sure, Denham. Like I said, if it's true. I don't even know who JLR is. He's a big YouTuber, and I don't know how big he was or if he was big before the Nancy Guthrie thing, but he gained hundreds of thousands of followers through the Nancy Guthrie case, but he was there. He was just a YouTuber, and he was there in front of her house, for over a month, and he would live stream for hours and hours a day. I watched him a lot. Just watching his live stream. That's the first time I'd ever heard of him. But he would have 30 or 40,000 people on his lives on YouTube, sometimes even more. Oh, yeah, talking about addiction. Katie just brought it up. I talked about it the last live, Wednesday night. But for those of you that weren't on Wednesday night, that wasn't on Wednesday night, I was in court last week one day, and this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And again, I'm not exaggerating this story at all. And I've got a witness that's on here that was sitting there and saw it all too. There was a female sitting directly in front of me on the bench, directly in front of me in court. And beside her was a journalist that worked for one of the news stations. And press, we were allowed to bring, anybody with media was allowed to bring our cell phones into court and or computers, whatever. No one else was allowed to. And so this journalist has his cell phone out, and the girl sitting next to him says, how did you get your cell phone in here? And he explained it to her. It's like, well, I'm press and we're allowed to bring them in here. She's like, oh, I wish I could have. And you could tell she was very tense and just kind of, and she looked at him as serious as she could be. And said, could I please just hold your cell phone just for a minute or two? I'm not gonna like open it. I'm not gonna look at it. I just need to hold it in my hands for a couple minutes. And he was definitely caught off guard by it, as we were as well. And he's like, are you being serious? She said, no, please, please. And he said, okay. And so he hands it to her, and she takes it and she turns it over where she can't even see the face of it, and then puts her other hand on top of it in her lap. And she just sits there looking straight ahead, and you could literally see the relief come over her. Again, I'm not exaggerating this. You could see the relief. I mean, she went from being completely tense to just, and she held it for maybe 2 minutes and then handed it back to him and said, thank you so much. And then she was good. That really happened right in front of me. I've never seen anything like it. Do any of y'all know someone that's that addicted to the cell phones? Because I mean, I've heard that, oh, they're addicted to their cell phone or something. I'd never realized there were people that were that addicted. If you're that addicted to yourself, you need help. And I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm being serious. You need to go to a professional. That is not normal. That is not okay. You are sick, and you need to understand that. I mean, wow. But again, after I saw that, I thought, there's no way that's the only one. I mean, that's one reason, like, my wife will tell you, one of the reasons that I like going on vacation in a completely different country or to an all-inclusive resort or something in another country or on a cruise is because I put my cell phone up when we get there and I don't touch it the rest of the time, and I love it. It's so relaxing. Like, I love it. So, like, what do those people do if they do something like that? You need help. And again, I'm not trying to be funny or make fun of you. I'm being serious. You seriously need to understand you have a major problem and you need help. But that, I'm always talking about your kids and electronics and stuff. And, that's definitely been a struggle in my house with my, at least with my 11-year-old, as far as like, the iPad and computer and gaming and stuff, because he likes to game, and he gets 20 minutes a day, and not Roblox. But he gets 20 minutes a day on electronics, and that's it, no matter what. He doesn't have a cell phone, nor will he. And that's why I talk about that so much, is so not only if you give your child like that a cell phone that has internet and just free reign, whatever, not only are you giving the world full access to your kid, which is crazy dangerous, but they're going to end up like this woman. And she was a woman, like, she was definitely in her 20s at least. I don't think she was probably older than 30. But That's a big problem. For 17 years, I had the same number. I changed it one time. Now I enjoy changing it. Well, that's not a bad idea. I've had the same cell phone number since I was a freshman in college. So yeah, I've had the same cell number over 20, so around 23, 24 years. Oh, wow, that's a long, that makes me feel very old. Now, I do have a bad habit, I think it's a good habit, but my phone stays on silent all the time. Uh, I get no notifications on it. So if you text me, that's why a lot of times takes me a while to get back to you. It's just 100% of the time on silent. Do not disturb. Now my son's mother, I have hers to where, like, if she calls or texts, I get notified. And my wife, that's it. So anyone else that tries to contact me, I'm not going to see it when it's happening. Katie said we didn't notice. I don't think you're being fully honest, Katie. Well, that reminds me, I want to play because I meant to talk about this Wednesday night, but we didn't get time. So most of you have heard my spiel on, children with electronics, how you need to be very careful because it's very dangerous, and children with social media. And my stance, and if you don't ever listen to anything I ever have to say, please take this advice. Please, if your child is 16 or younger, they have no business on any social media. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you let your child on social media at those ages, you are begging for disaster. Begging. Nothing, listen, not one thing good will ever come out of your child being on social media. It is no place for a child or teenager. No place. It blows my mind when I hear someone say that their 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14 has, social media, any type of social media. You are messing up big time. And again, you're asking for bad things to happen to your child. And I promise you could find some parents somewhere that would tell you they would give anything if they could have gone back and never allowed their children on social media at all. So, we talk a lot about Walker County, Alabama Sheriff Nick Smith. And now, normally, I would never talk about a family member of someone that we're going after. And when I say going after, I'm talking about someone that's corrupt, doing bad things or whatever that we do stories on, that we cover, to do podcasts on, all that stuff. Such as Nick Smith, most corrupt sheriff ever by far. Facts. But he and his wife have chosen to include her in all of his mess. So let me pull this video up. And this is in relation to young children being on social media, which again, I'll tell you straight up to your face, you are not being a good parent. That can offend you, that can hurt your feelings, that can piss you off, whatever. I'd rather piss you off or hurt your feelings and you hate me than something bad happening to your child any day. So she posted a 10-minute video. Nick Smith's wife. Her name is Tabitha Smith, goes by Tab. She posted a long video on his campaign page. And sometime within the last week, talking about how they're the victims and people, she's tired of people making fun of her husband and talking bad about him and judging him. Okay, we're not doing any of that. We're calling him out because he has ruined people's lives. He is responsible for a couple of people's lives being taken, and he's fully corrupt. Fully corrupt. So this is what Tab said in part of her video. I'm pulling it up here.
Our 12-year-old daughter, our youngest daughter, she has just now gotten to the social media world. Before you say anything, there are kids younger than her that have social media. It's none of your business, but she has it. And I monitor it.
Well, if there's kids younger than her, then that makes it completely safe for her, right? That's her logic. It's ignorant. And the reason she's saying that is because she wants us to feel sorry for her family and her children because, well, they see all this stuff that people saying about their dad. Again, first off, that's your fault for being a bad parent, not ours. If that's the worst thing that happens to her child online, I will be very happy. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that won't be. Because which 11 or 12, I can't remember which one she said. They're on social media now. And before we say anything, there are kids younger than them on there. You know what? There are kids younger than that on drugs right now. Does that mean your child should be that it's okay for your child to do drugs? No, that's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous statement to make. That logic is dumb. The dumbest logic I've heard in a while. And then she says in the same, and it's none of your business. You're exactly right. It's not. Therefore, We're not going to stop telling the truth about your husband just because you allow your 11-year-old on social media. It's obvious she is as ignorant as her husband, if not worse. For someone to make a feel sorry for me video and say that, these people are different. They live in their own world, and it is a fantasy world. I know. Look, people make up stuff about me every day on social media. And I know there are some people out there that will do anything to get me. There are some people out there that would give anything to ruin my life. I know that. It's part of this. There are people out there that would do anything to be able to hurt me, whether it be mentally, physically, whatever. I know that. So you think I'm going to allow my kid, my 11-year-old, on social media, knowing the people that are out there to try to get me, that I know they wouldn't think twice to try to go through my child? Ignorance. So, of all people that shouldn't allow their children on social media, I'm one of them for sure. And she's definitely one of them. Again, you're sitting here admitting it is harming this is how ignorant this is. She is admitting it is harming her child being on social media. Because now they're having to see this and they come home crying because the rest of the video, they get on there and then they come to them and they're crying and they're all upset. Why in the hell are you letting them on there read that stuff? You are sitting here admitting that it is very, very bad and harming your child. And in the same sentence, you say, before you say anything, there's kids younger than her on there. What does that have to do with anything? So for her, it's not a question of if and when her child will be harmed from being online at that age. She's already admitted she is getting harmed on there. And it's okay because other kids younger than her are on there. And that is only one reason that that social media is not a place for children. That's only one reason. Again, and there are a lot of other worse reasons that they shouldn't be. Because there are evil people out there. And there are crazy, crazy people out there. Again, I've dealt with some of them. I'm sure Nick Smith has as well. I couldn't believe she said that. I could not believe it. Debbie said admitting she's a bad parent. Yeah, no, that's exactly what she's saying. She couldn't be more clear. Hey, I'm a horrible parent. I know this is harming my child, but I'm going to let them continue to be on social media. Why? Well, because kids younger than her are on there. I promise you, not one good thing will ever come of your child being on social media. Not one. And the chances of something harming them on there are very high. And again, in her situation, it's already happened and happening, and she doesn't care. And then has the gall to tell, it's none of our business. Well, then stop telling us about it. Stop trying to make us feel sorry for your child, because I do feel sorry for their children. Because their children didn't choose their parents. They don't have a say in any of this. Their parents are responsible for them. And so I don't blame anything Nick Smith or his wife does on their children. That's ignorant. And I do feel sorry. I've felt sorry for their children the whole time because they're having to live through this as well. And again, why their dad would continue to put their children just through this in general is beyond me. But now this, hey, things aren't bad enough for us. Let's let our 11-year-old on social media so she can see everything that's being said. I don't understand it. I do not understand it. Yeah, I remember that, Priscilla. Last year, she was just in a robe in her bathroom talking about bullying. I remember that. And I'm going to be doing a full podcast just on this. And I guarantee you, him and his minions start saying, I can't believe it. What a horrible man talking about his wife, bringing his wife into it. No, I'm not bringing her into it. She brought herself into it. Because I wouldn't care whose wife she is or whose mother she is. Any parent that makes a video online making that statement whilst in the same sentence saying it's harming my child, I'm going to call out because they're being a bad parent. It blows my mind. We're talking about Tabitha Smith, which is the wife of Walker County, Alabama Sheriff Nick Smith, who just so happens to be the most corrupt sheriff and law enforcement officer I've ever in my life seen. But again, you can take all that out. Her husband's a politician. He's running for an office. That's not a fun thing to do. I don't know anyone that enjoys running for an office and everything. I mean, again, people are going to make up stuff about you. So even if you're great, people are going to make up crazy stuff about you. Your children are going to see all this stuff. It's not good. So you could take everything else out, and just her husband being a politician should be more than enough reason for her to say, no, I'm not allowing my kids on social media because it's going to harm them. It's going to affect them mentally. Wow. Let me pull up the full. We're not going to watch the full video, but I just want y'all to see. I had made that clip because I'm putting it in the middle of I'm adding it in the podcast I'm doing on it. I want y'all to kind of just to see, more exactly of why she's talking about that.
When I say people amaze me, I mean, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. But sometimes they do. I kept on seeing Facebook post, and it was kind of alluding to a video that I guess had been shared today. And of course, I have deleted so many people, blocked pages and everything else that I don't see nothing. So I saw one of my friends had shared a post. And I thought, okay, I'm going to ask her what's going on. Like, have I missed something? Because, again, my friends list is few, far, and in between. So I messaged her, and she said, Tab, she said, somebody had posted a video of Nick out campaigning, and this lady told him she wouldn't vote for him to get off her property or something along those lines. I was like, I don't see the big deal in it. I mean, okay. So I went and found it, and I watched it, and I thought, oh my Lord, he's doing what he told people he's been doing, campaigning.
Side note, this was on either Tuesday or Wednesday morning at like 10 a.m. that she's talking about, when he's supposed to be working as a sheriff. You're not supposed to be campaigning while you're at work. He does. Anyway.
He's been for about a year. If you don't like him, you don't like him. Oh well, why post a video about it? You know why? Because people want that 5 seconds of fame. I said what I said. I am so proud of my husband. So proud of his integrity. I mean, if, he wasn't a Christian man, he would have been like, I don't know what he would have said.
We may end up watching this whole thing's 8 minutes, but because it's even worse than I remembered. She just said, I am so proud of his integrity. Again, they live in a fantasy world. She is talking about a man that has zero integrity. And it would be very hard for you to find anyone that disagrees with that. None. And they're always trying to throw the Bible at you. I can't stand it when these people try to hide behind the Bible. Your husband has done horrible things. Facts. That's not speculation. It's not making up things. He has done horrible things. Integrity.
But he didn't. All he said was, yes, ma'am, you have a great day. And he trotted his little butt off the porch and went on about his merry day. I was reading the comments, and people were like, he was so scattered. Have you not been watching our lives for the last year or longer?
First off, I agree with her here. I guarantee you it didn't bother him. He does not realize, again, we've talked about it, there's something wrong with him. Because, again, he lives in a completely different world than the rest of us. And I guarantee you it didn't bother him. Nothing does.
You think that's going to deter him or frustrate him?
No, I don't.
You need to get caught up because, let me tell you. The memes, the comments, the names we've been called, he's been called. Baby, that ain't nothing.
That ain't nothing. That's nothing. But in the same video, she's going to talk about how horrible it is. They don't even realize they don't realize the irony in the things that they say.
Just tell you what it did show. It showed a man with true character and, like I said, integrity.
You honestly, you can't help but laugh at that statement.
So proud of him. You know, even though with every meme, every bad name he's been called, people making fun of him, he still shows up every day. Every day. Heaven forbid if that person needed him, he'd be there. He'd be there.
I question that.
Because that's what he was called to do. That's his job.
If something bad happens, he's never there. According to him, anyway. So I don't know if he'd be there. It depends on if something bad happened or not.
Oh, that's his duty. And I'm so proud of him for that. You know, I would say, you know, I just don't understand, and I'm glad I don't understand that type of hate. That type of, I don't know what you would call it. Like,
we call it, he has ruined people's lives. We call it, he has hundreds and hundreds of people that live in his county that are literally afraid to call 911. Because some of the people that's called 911 for them to come help their family member, they show up and they just shoot them. That's what we call it. They're tired of their sheriff's office and their sheriff being corrupt. They're tired of not being able to trust him. They're tired of his chief deputy sending D pics to victims of crimes after they responded to them. That's what they're tired of. And then when those people go and complain to Nick Smith, nothing happens. Ask Tony Mitchell's family what they call it. Ask Eric Cake's mother what she calls it. Ask Maxine Bieberbach's family what they call it. The recovering addict that he was hooking up with, that then mysteriously came up missing, has not been seen since, that they have done no investigation on.
Like, I'm blessed that I don't understand it. Now, I'm making this video and you'll probably get picked apart and I'll be made fun of too.
Not making fun of you. I'm calling you out for being a horrible parent and lying about your husband.
I don't care.
I believe that you don't care. If everybody
else can share their feelings, why can't I? I mean, why can't I?
You can.
Why am I different?
Just don't get upset when we pick it apart.
Line up with your views.
Again, our views that she's talking, because our views don't line up with hers. Our views are, we expect her husband to just be a decent man. Doesn't have to be great, just decent. We expect people's lives not to be taken when they need help. We expect when someone goes missing that it's investigated any. We expect when someone's life is taken, we expect him and his agency to do some type of investigation, any at all. But we don't get any of that. We expect when a citizen of his county gets on social media and makes a serious allegation that they were SA'd as a child by the elected coroner of that county, we expect his office to investigate it. And they didn't. Not at all. That's the things we expect.
You know, I've always told my family, you know, there are people who will come in and out of your life that your spirit just doesn't click with, that you just may not like, and that's okay. You don't have to like everybody. But what you do have to do, you have to respect everybody, because that's being a decent human being.
No, you don't.
And I think being a decent human being has just went out of.
You respect people that deserves your respect. You don't respect everybody. There's not a child predator alive I respect. And I'm not supposed to. Of many, that's one of many.
The window with this culture, this society. Because we'd rather sit behind a keyboard and name call and make stupid pictures and everything else. This nonsense. I don't get it.
It's not nonsense if you ask the families of all the missing people there that have received no answers. It's not nonsense. The gall that she has to say this stuff when so many people in that county and family members of people in that county are suffering every single day because of how horrible and corrupt her husband is. As she says, she doesn't care. And I don't think she does. And we know he doesn't.
Again, I'm blessed that I don't get it. Our 12-year-old daughter, our youngest daughter, she has just now gotten to the social media world. Before you say anything, there are kids younger than her that have social media. It's none of your business, but she has it. And I monitor it. She will get on people's posts and she will take up for her daddy. And I've told her time and time again.
She said, and I monitor it. You're not monitoring it. You just said she'll get on people's posts. And how are you monitoring it?
And do not comment. She said, Mama, if everybody else can have an opinion about my daddy, why can't I have an opinion about him? Why can't I stand up for him? How do you argue with that?
You argue with it saying you are a child and you don't understand the world. That's how you argue with it. Her brain is not even close to being fully developed. She doesn't understand any of this. Again, Tab, it's your job as a parent to keep her from this mess, to protect her. How do you argue with that? I argue with my kid every day.
So, baby, there are people who you can argue all day long with. They're not going to understand you, sis.
She just described her and her husband to a T. You could argue with either one of them all day, and they just don't get it because they live in a completely different world than us.
But she said, Mama, but that's my daddy. I'm so proud of my kids. They get it. You know, still to this day, they get, people say stuff to them, and Madeline and them, they just brush it off, or they come home and they vent about it and we talk about it. And I'm like, guys, you saying something else to them is not going to help the situation. Walk away, be the bigger person.
You know, just like she is right now. She's being the bigger person. She just walked away from it. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. She should take her own advice.
Be a decent human being. That's all I ask you to do. But yeah, every day it's something. But again, I'm so proud of my husband. I'm proud of the integrity that he has. He keeps showing up every day. Even though it's something new every day. Somebody making fun of him, making a video, like I said, there's always something. But he keeps showing up because that's what we were called to do. I've been praying and...
You know, you think anybody has ever looked at her and said, you understand people in other counties don't sit around and make tons of videos about their sheriffs? Why is it you think it's just your husband? You think anybody's ever said that to her? Like, she's acting like this is just part of him being a sheriff. No, this is part of him being a corrupt sheriff.
You know that I'm like, Lord, is this really worth it? Because I'm tired. Very tired.
It's not worth
and
it.
The still small voice says it ain't about you. Keep on going. Because guess what? Somebody's testimony, somebody's future is tied to our fight. That's what I have to keep going for. I made a post that a guest speaker came to our church a few weeks ago, and my word was victory. Whether that's victory of Nick winning this other election, or is victory with that door closing and another one opening, it's going to be a victory either way. Some people just don't understand that. That's okay.
Oh, we understand it. We know what the victory will be for all of us, for him not to be reelected.
I think I understand. But it's going to be okay. Because whatever our future is, the Lord's already seen it. He's already there. He's already preparing a way for us.
He is. I think he's getting that federal indictment ready. And I see federal prison in your husband's future.
It's going to be a victory for us. So keep on sharing your silly stuff, and I'll keep on shining my light bright. I'll keep on doing what we were called to do, because no video, no stupid meme, no name calling will deter us from what God has in store for us. So to those who just don't understand that, again, that's okay, because I don't understand you either. But we got to keep on doing what we're doing.
That's the sad part.
That's what makes the world go round. But that's my tab talk for the day. And again, I just want to say I'm so proud of my husband for him just keeping on when he don't have to, but he does. He keeps on showing up. He keeps on doing what he's got to do, because it ain't about us. Have a good night.
Amanda's talking about the chair mullet. When you sit just the right way, the chair looks like you have long, beautiful hair flowing behind your shoulders. Very metal of you. Yeah, we call it the chair mullet. A while back, as when I learned that a lot of people that have been following me thought I had a mullet because of my chair. Googling and you can't find all you have to do is Google Sheriff Nick Smith. All of it will come up. There's tons out there. I mean, it's a lot. He was literally just on the front page of USA Today with them talking about his corruption and how horrible he is. Can we just all show up together at his office one day? You know, he wanted me to come to his office. He wanted to meet with me. He wanted us to have a private discussion. I told him I'd be glad to have a private discussion, but I'm not coming to Walker County because I know how that's going to end. I'm not that dumb. Oh, yes, as Katie reminded me, ChatGPT even gave me a mullet in my caricature thing when everybody was doing those, and I did one, and it kept giving me a mullet. It's pretty solid. Did I ever show that picture? Did I have it up? We need some comedic relief right quick. I guess I did. Yes, Sienna, to answer your question. I'm sorry, I just saw that. Oh, yeah, let me bring this one up. This is funny. There it is. There's that beautiful, long, blonde, brown hair. No, Amanda, I do not have a mullet. I do need to make this my new a little thumbnail pic. I look like the love child of Theo Von and Kid Rock. I don't know that that's a good thing. Yeah, I did. I saw that where Chuck Norris passed away. Yeah, I did. I saw that. There you go. There's your comedy for the day. Oh, Kristen, don't get me started on the Chuck Norris jokes. I used to waste hours a day reading those things. how high was my blood pressure during that video. The first time I watched it got on up there. Ruth said I met him in person and he was very short, well built. I never met him in person. Always wanted to. I thought she was talking about Chuck Norris. Who are you talking about, Ruth? I thought you were talking about Chuck Norris. Theo was on The Real World? I didn't know that. I want to be on his podcast. Everybody needs to email him and tell him to get me on his podcast. That's our new goal, team. I want to be on Theo's podcast. Theo Buns. He's hilarious. But seriously, I would love to be on his podcast. I don't think I ever watched The Real World. I'm familiar with it, but I didn't know he was on there. Bears in the Woods carry Chuck Norris spray. No, there's some funny ones. No, Theo's alive. Chuck Norris passed away. No, Theo's alive and well. He lives in Nashville. Theo with Miss Pat is an episode not to be missed. There's a bunch. that are just hilarious. If you're not already, I'd really appreciate and ask you to please follow or subscribe, whichever platform you're on. Please do that. And I have a full podcast. You can find my full podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. And if you're only following me on TikTok, make sure you also go and subscribe to YouTube, because TikTok has been known to ban me and kick me off for just randomly, quite often, for the craziest things that we don't do. I mean, I'm very careful to try not to get banned, and they just but I'm always live on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And you can find me on anything under Agent D Baker. It's Agent D Baker. And other than Facebook, and it's just my full name, Derek Baker, Derek Baker. But I'm trying to build up my YouTube, so I'd really appreciate it if you would go follow me on there as well, or subscribe, whatever you call it. And again, make sure you check out my full podcast. And when I was a guest on Chris Hansen's podcast a while back, and I told you all it was supposed to be released this past Wednesday. That's what I was told. That didn't happen, so I don't know what happened. So I'm guessing we got. I'm guessing it was a week off. I'm guessing there was just a misunderstanding, and it'll probably be this next Wednesday. But as soon as it hits on there, I'll make sure to put it out and let you know. Jimmy Gracie? No, I don't even know. Who is that? I'm not familiar with that at all. Are we familiar with Jimmy Gracie team? Officer Tatum? No, I'm a big fan of his. He knows what he's talking about. Now, I'm not saying I agree with every single thing he ever says, but he knows what he's talking about. Oh, is that the UA student? That's right. Okay. I'm sorry. My mind is everywhere. Yes. Yeah. No, I was keeping up with that because I mean he lives where I live. He goes to school here where I live, and so, but yeah, really, really sad. But he's a University of Alabama student. He was in Spain, just visiting some friends, and that was studying abroad there. And he went missing, and now they've ended up finding video. Well, they found him. They located him in the ocean, and then apparently there was video showing it was a complete accident where he accidentally fell in late one night and didn't make it out of the water. So very, very sad. Yeah, horrible. I feel for his family for sure. But yeah, I really hated to hear that. I knew it wasn't. I mean, anytime an American, especially an American student, goes missing in another country, most of the time it doesn't turn out good. So I was expecting the worst, hoping I was wrong, obviously. Um, but unfortunately, he did not make it. No, I mean I completely agree, Sienna. Nobody needs to have beverages near water like that. I agree, but I was guilty of it when I was in college. I mean, we do dumb things. That's why we need good friends with us, uh, for sure. I mean, I did some dumb things in college. I mean, I remember in college and being on spring break in like Panama City, Florida, and middle of the night, a couple of us just run out, jump in the ocean, and swim for a while. And it was dumb because we were definitely intoxicated. Just lucky that nothing bad happened to us. Um, but we always had that one friend that didn't drink, and you definitely need those, and had some sense. And so, they would pull us back, say, "Hey, calm down." But you need that friend, or you need to be that friend. But yeah, I really hated to hear that. He's starting school here, Kristen. Oh, cool. Well, that's awesome. Well, when he gets here, let me know if y'all ever need anything, and I mean that. Tourist traps in Greece got caught diluting alcohol and spiking it to cut cost. I mean, you don't trust things anywhere you go when you're out like that. But yeah, especially in another country, um, you need to be extra cautious in another country. Uh, be careful of where you are. Um, have everything planned out. Make sure your family, friends know all your plans and where you're going to be at what time. It's very important, especially right now. No matter what country you are in, if you're an American, there's a possibility you could be targeted just for being an American in any other foreign country. So you have to be careful. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't travel to other countries. I mean, obviously, there's some you shouldn't, but I'm just talking about in general. You need to be extra paranoid and cautious. there were some American ladies in Brussels that were chased by a man with a like a machete or something because he assumed they supported ICE. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You got to be careful. Should I practicing my Canadian accent? You don't want to be Canadian because everybody automatically assumes they're weak, and that makes you even more of a soft target. So you don't want to be Canadian. You need to be like Australian. You need either have a Russian accent or Australian accent. Any kind of Slovakian accent, but definitely Australia too. Let me write that down, Denim. Stephen Campbell. I wonder if I can. There we go. A team that I just sent in Discord is Denim was wanting me to look into that. So I sent in there just so we would remember. Go to Scotland. I'm going to Scotland soon because that's on my bucket list. It's one of the main places I want to go that I've not been to. Everything is trying to kill you in Australia have to be tough. That's right. And Australians are tough. I served in the Middle East with some Aussies, and they were freaking crazy tough. They're just crazy. They're a different breed. But yeah, I definitely want to go to Scotland. When I traced back some years ago, and I traced my family all the way back as far as I could, and I was able to trace it back to like a great, however far along, grandfather, Zachariah Baker, that came from Scotland to the U.S. And that's where, my family ended up going through, whatever. So when I learned that, is when I became infatuated with Scotland. Definitely want to go. And I've technically been to Ireland a couple times, but just to the airport. So I've never been outside of the airport in Ireland, but I want to go to Ireland too, but definitely Scotland. Yeah, I'm gonna check into that, Denim. This sounds very interesting. That's crazy. Oh, you're 48% Scottish. I was like 30 something. It was high 30s. I can't remember exactly what, but it was on up there. and then the rest of me is just 2% from here, there, everywhere. Oh, that's cool. Your high school band went to Ireland, marched in the St. Patrick's Day parade. Well, that is cool. I don't remember, Chris. It's been so long ago since I looked at any of that stuff. I need to look back into all of it though, but I'll check and see. Yeah, I learned that, and then I learned bakers. That name came from they were blacksmiths, and I can't remember exactly how it is in another language or something. They called blacksmiths bakers or whatever, and so anyway, but it carried over, and that's where my last name came from. I thought that was interesting. So it didn't actually come from actual bakers. If you're 96% English, that's full. That's crazy. I think my next, I can't remember for sure, but I want to say my next highest was German. I think. Pretty sure that was it. Let me make sure. Let me see if there's anything else I was wanting to discuss tonight. Oh, there is. Hold on. Yeah, I want to talk about this very quickly. So I'm going to do I will be doing a full podcast on this, and so we'll be going deeper into this and going over it. But this is a very serious uh, law that they're trying to get passed in Alabama that I'm 1,000% against, and it's being sold to us as something completely as one part of it, and they're not mentioning this part at all. And I know why, because I don't agree with this at all. And it is called the SAVE, SAVE Act. And it just passed the House. But the part, because there's some parts of it I like, and I wouldn't mind at all. But this part, we cannot pass this. It would require party registration for primary voters. Now, what that means is, if you are an independent and you're not a registered Democrat or Republican, you would not be allowed to vote in the primaries at all. We can't. That's crazy. So you would have to either register as a Republican, and if you registered as a Republican, you would only be allowed to vote for Republicans in the primary, no matter what. If you're registered as a Democrat, you would only be allowed to vote for the Democrats in the primaries, no matter what. So they have thrown this in to this bill because they know the rest of the bill most Alabamians won't and agree with. But again, this is not what they're selling. They're selling it as you just have to show your ID to vote, which, yes, I think it's one of the craziest things I've ever in my life heard, that people are allowed to vote without showing their ID, without us knowing who they are. That's ignorant. I'm all for that. And that's what they're trying to sell this as. But there is a lot more to it, like I said. And this part is in that bill. And I do not agree with that. And there's a reason they're not out announcing this part and trying to keep this part on the down low, because they know most people will not go for this. So I'm going to bring as much awareness to this as possible. So to go back over, and again, we're going to get a lot deeper into it in the next few weeks. If you're an independent and you're not registered with the Republican Party or Democrat Party, you will not, and this is in Alabama, you will not be allowed to vote in primary elections at all. No. That is voter suppression. Clear as day. I don't know who would be for this. And then once registered to one party or the other, you would be restricted from switching parties within 60 days of primary elections through the general election. So you wouldn't even be allowed to switch parties if it's within 60 days of the elections. The bill sponsor, Representative Ernie Yarborough, and I'm not sure where he's out of, said the proposal is designed to strengthen party identity and prevent crossover voting between parties. And it just requires qualified voters to register for their party to vote in the party primary, either by voting or online or at the board of registrars. He also compared the change to sports teams. I liken it to a football team. And so a football team is always, it's always good in politics and in football to know who you are and lean more into your identity and have clear separation of teams and values so the best outcome for those who are involved. That is the dumbest logic. Who voted this guy? Who voted for this guy to be a representative? So I'm going to, again, look into him and research everything about him. And we're going to try to get him voted out the next election he's up, because this is ignorant. The proposal drew opposition from both sides of the aisle. I would hope so. This is bad. And again, it's already passed the House. Make sure, and it's House Bill 551. 541. I'm sorry. House Bill 541. And again, I'm going to make a full podcast about it ASAP. And I'm going to bring it up on every live I do. But make sure, if you live in Alabama, that you call your state representative or senator now. Make sure you contact your senator and tell them you are 100% against this. We cannot let this go. I'm telling this is voter suppression. You have all heard me say numerous times, I'm a registered Republican. I'm a Republican. But that doesn't mean I always vote for Republicans, because I don't. I vote for the person. There have been plenty of times I have voted for the Democrat in certain races because that person was better than the Republican running. And I think that's how it should be. This is not good. But this is what my education is in. I have a degree in political science. This makes no sense to me. None. I don't understand it. I don't think it's good for the Republicans, and I don't think it's good for the Democrats. I'm sure, obviously, this guy has gotten his mind and his buddies or whatever that this is good for the Republicans. How I see it is, if the Republicans pass this, it's going to piss all the independents off, and they're going to start voting Democrat. I don't think they thought about that. But again, this is not good. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. So make sure you tell your family, friends, everybody that lives in Alabama about this. And it's called the SAVE Act, SAVE. And we've got to contact our senators. By Monday, I will have either put out a podcast about this or we'll talk about it on the live, and I'll make sure everyone is aware how they can contact their senators and share the way that I'm doing it, all that stuff, because I want this to be as simple as possible. Contact them, tell them no, because trust me, if your senator's contacted by enough of their voters, they're going to vote against it. I promise you that. I would hope it wouldn't pass anyway, but it passed the House, and I wouldn't have thought that, because this is just, again, I don't see this being good at all. And it was brought to my attention because I've been seeing stuff about the SAVE Act, but I hadn't looked at all of it. Again, all I've heard about it is the ID part. And a representative that I know very well let us know. It's like, hey, I'm going to be speaking out against this. Are you aware that this is in that SAVE Act? I was like, hell no. So I'm going to try to bring as much awareness to this as possible. I don't like it. It's been that way in New Mexico as long as you have been voting since the 80s. That's crazy. So it's already that way in New Mexico. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Where are we supposed to send messages or information that are supposed to be private information? If you're talking about to me, Sheba, you can email at agentdbaker315@gmail.com. I just typed it in the chat, and I think you can find it on my YouTube profile, my email address, but send the email there. And yeah, anything you send me is 100% private between us. I'll never repeat your name. I'll never put out any information that would point towards you. Well, no, you already can't cross vote in a primary, and I don't like that either. But when you go and vote in primaries in Alabama, you have to choose whether you're going to vote on the Republican ticket or the Democrat, and whichever one you choose. So you can't vote for some Republicans in the primary and then some Democrats in the primary. You have to choose one or the other. And I don't like that either, but I understand why that is, and I understand that more. And that's pretty much how it is in every state as far as I know. But again, I don't like that either. But this adds a whole other level to that. And again, this means if you're not registered either Democrat or Republican, you don't get to vote in the primaries at all. So if you're independent, you don't get a vote in the primaries. And I don't agree with that. Yeah, in the general election, you can vote for a Republican for governor and then a Democrat for lieutenant governor or whatever. But yeah, in the primaries, you can't do that. But again, this, you have to physically be registered on the record as either a Republican or Democrat to be able to vote at all in the primaries. And if you are a registered Republican and you already know pretty much how all the Republican votes are going to go as far as in the primaries, or there's none that you really are that big or care about in the primaries, but there's some Democrats that you like or don't like at all or whatever, and you want to vote for them, you can do that. Well, if this passes, you can't. If you're a registered Republican, you can only vote Republicans no matter what. If you're a registered Democrat, you can only vote Democrats no matter what. And again, I don't agree with that, but I definitely, the biggest part to me that I'm against is being that there are a lot of independents and they should be able to vote in primaries. Well, the only say we get, like I said, is with our legislators. So we're gonna have to contact our state senators. So this does not make it through the state senate. Because I'm sure if it makes it to Meemaw's desk, she's gonna sign it. You're exactly right, Miranda. That's a good point. In a lot of cases, voting primary is the only way to have a say in local elections. That's a very good point. Pretty much, Natalie. Pretty much. Yeah. So SAVE stands for Safeguard American Voter Eligibility. Oh, that's right. So there is also a federal SAVE Act that's passed the House federally, but this SAVE Act is Alabama's state level. And that's where, and ours is the Alabama's state level one is where they would require this party registration for primary. So actually, the Alabama one stands for Safeguard Alabama Voter Engagement. And one more time. So it would require voters to register with a specific political party at least 60 days before a primary election. And it bans the primary system to those who do not affiliate with a party. I don't like it. Well, Meemaw's 110 years old, so she doesn't care. She's not going to be around long enough for any of this to harm her. I mean, be clear. I'm not saying that I hope she's not around. I'm not saying I hope something happens to her. I'm not saying any of that whatsoever. I was just playing off of, she is very old. She is very, very elderly and old. I don't want anything bad to happen to her. And then before I go, again, if you're new or if you're not following me or subscribing, please do that. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate each and every one of you that's on here. And as I always say, I welcome people that think differently than me 100%. I don't want a bunch of people that follow me and subscribe to all think just like me. That's not what I want. I enjoy conversations with people that don't agree with me. I enjoy those, and as long as we can have adult conversations about it, I enjoy that because I always learn something from it, and I think everybody does. So I welcome that. We don't block people just because they don't agree with my views or anything like that. Now, if you say ridiculous things like calling people names or stuff like that, then we will block you, but not if just because you don't agree or you disagree with nothing like that. You can ask my team. I'm very strict on who they block. We don't just block people. So I welcome that. But again, please make sure you're following me or subscribing. Please watch my videos, listen to my podcast. When you watch my videos on the platforms, please watch them all the way through, like them, and then share them, repost them. That helps me a lot. I do have a Patreon that will be coming live very soon. And it would have already been, but with the trial, the last 3 weeks, it threw everything off. But that is going to be coming up very soon, and I'll put all that out. And again, there's a lot of cool things on there. I'm very excited about it, and there'll be a lot of extra videos, personal videos, and then a lot of self-protection, and preparedness, things like that. Little videos on there. On the paid subscription part of Patreon. And I'll be doing that because I have bills to pay. But all of this, just you liking and watching my videos all the way through and sharing them, reposting them, helps a lot. We have a long way to go, but we have a lot of big plans, and we're getting there. And that's thanks to all of you. I can't thank you enough. I think that's about it. And even though they're behind the scenes, I hope my team appreciates how much, or knows how much I appreciate them. They work their tails off. None of this would be possible without them. I could not do any of this on my own. It takes a lot, and it takes a whole team, and they are amazing. They're just, I could not say enough good things about them, and they try to keep me in check. Sometimes I still don't listen to them, and I screw up anyway. But they try their best. So, but I definitely appreciate them. But I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday night. Well, it's technically Saturday morning now in Alabama. Hope you all have a great weekend. If there's anything whatsoever I can do for you, don't hesitate to message me or email me. And it may take me a while to get to it, but at some point I will. And I check those personally myself. That's why it takes me so long to get to some of them. And if I can help you, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you I can't. If you have any information, whether it be on any stories that I'm covering or any that something you would like for me to cover, please send me that. And if you send me any sensitive information, as I said earlier, that's completely private between you and I. My team doesn't even see names. I'll pull information from those messages and emails, and then I give the information to my research team, but they don't even see names. I take that very serious. And again, the other thing, if it's very sensitive information or something that you're really afraid that would put you in danger for telling, then we will move our conversation to a completely private platform that's fully encrypted, where no one would ever be able to have access, no judges. It wouldn't be able to be subpoenaed or warrants written for it or nothing. Again, I take that serious because I'd never, ever will put anyone in danger for giving me information. And though that information that people send me is another thing that keeps this going. And I appreciate everyone that does. I get a lot of information from people that are not allowed to say stuff publicly in fear for either their safety or their job, career, whatever. And that helps me a lot. And again, you'll never hear me call any of those out ever, under no circumstance. But other than that, again, I hope y'all have a great rest of your night and a good weekend, and stay safe.